Welcome into the Paul Kuharsky podcast. I'm Paul Kuharsky, paulkuharsky.com at Edleys in Berry Hill, one of my very favorite places. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Lots to talk about with the Tennessee Titans draft. Slowly still approaching, but obviously the top thing on everybody's mind. Let me know about the audio here, having a slight difficulty with my box, but I think I am fully functional. Live from Edleys, also sponsored by Zen Sports. Going to talk about why the Titans might not draft Cam Ward. What's the case against Cam Ward here as things continue to grow, and everybody becomes more and more convinced that he is the guy. Focus says the reason would be because we're dumb. But we'll go from there. Going to talk about rule changes that are proposed, what's good and what's bad amongst the things that are coming. Titan strategy at left tackle versus the Texans. Reporting trends around the league that I meant to get to last week. And all of your questions. Appreciate you coming. I did not forget Josh Robinson. March Madness is, of course, on at this Edleys and at every Edleys around the mid-state, where you could easily come, have a margarita, have a couple beers, have some great brisket or barbecue of your choice, and enjoy the basketball while talking some football or whatever is your choice. So, look, I understand the mounting rationale that Cam Ward's going to be the guy. I think, it's clearly the best quarterback in this draft. Titans clearly quarterback needy. Brandon Allen's certainly not the answer. A lot of problems with running it back with Will Levis. Maybe their best shot to get a guy at the top of the draft, though I think there's going to be a lot of better options next year near the top. How close to the top they can get, it's something we're not going to know for a while. Jennifer, the brisket is excellent. Thank you for chiming in. There's a lot of video breakdowns and articles being written about how great Cam Ward is. And he might be great. But also, I think, at this stage, everybody's looking at the great things about Cam Ward and kind of forgetting the things that made some people reluctant for him from the start, hesitating, and made them say, well, he could be the best quarterback in this draft, but it doesn't make him necessarily a number one worthy quarterback. Focus says, honestly, at this point, if we don't go Cam or trade back and get Sanders, this offense will be unwatchable. RetroTech says, is it better to trade this year's number one and go for a Jackson Dart? I don't think Jackson Dart's the answer at all. There's some rumblings of that now. I think this SEC love comes in. I mean, Jackson Dart has a nice arm, and Jackson Dart can do some things on the move, but his decision-making under pressure is a big question. Can he throw into tight windows? He doesn't anticipate open windows well. He's not decisive. He's not good at food. I don't think the answer here is to draft a quarterback other than Cam Ward. Jordan Pace is pretty funny. Fewer things are more brutal than getting hit with a "here's a bad question from so-and-so who's usually good in here" from a disappointed dad, PK. What's the rumor on a Cousins and Levis trade? Listen, Cousins just got paid $10 million bonus by Atlanta. I don't understand why they wouldn't have dealt him before the $10 million bonus. I mean, they're just going to swallow $10 million to trade him and then swallow what other cap things there are. They basically be buying a draft pick with the money that it cost them in swallowing salary, and they'd have to pay some of the salary. So you want to trade that for a draft pick, trade the money that you're eating for him for a draft pick? maybe. Um, but you can also look at it and say Penix doesn't cost them that much money. And if Penix doesn't cost them much money, well, Penix and Cousins combined cost them 40 something. And that's not a bad price to pay for your quarterback. And I think that's maybe how they're going to approach it, how they're going to look at it. Levis in a trade is not going to get you much. And Titans fans have this thing they do where they overvalue their bad plays. So could Levis get you a pick swap from a 6th to a 5th? Maybe. 7th to a 6th? Probably. Titans still in the 7th round? I think not. I think they just got out of the 7th round with the Ken Murray. Get you next year 7th to a 6th? Maybe. Get you next year 6th to a 5th? Conceivably. How many teams are interested in Will Levis? I need to look around and see what the backup quarterback situation is around the league. And maybe that'll be a project for a post to see who has room for Levis as a reclamation project backup quarterback. I don't think there's much appeal for the guy. I mean, I think if he comes free or really cheap, kind of guy I've said before, sit him on the bench like Zach Wilson did behind somebody good, ideally a veteran, but even a Bo Nix, and let him learn under somebody like Sean Payton, and then he'd come out and see what he could be, and we'll see maybe what Zach Wilson's going to be if he plays for Tua in Miami this year. And if he's a good reclamation project, we'll see. Let's talk a little bit about Ward. So JT posted, my fine producer here, posted this chart. This is Cam Ward, his spider chart, right, from college. Now, first off, let me say, in college, if you're an elite quarterback, your spider chart should look great, right? So where's he not great here? EPA on turnovers and sack rate, all right? But everything else, he's really, really good. Now, I would expect a guy who's a potential first pick in the draft to have a chart that looks fantastic like this. And it certainly got a hell of a reaction when we saw Will Levis's two spider charts. The one on the right here, I'm sorry if you're listening on audio. So Cam's is very impressive. This is a chart that puts a point on multiple different categories in the circle. And the perfect quarterback would have a full circle. And an imperfect quarterback like Will Levis after his final year of college is a jagged, odd geometric shape. Now, Levis was hurt in his final year. And his chart looks terrible. In his second to last year, when he was healthier and played much better, it's a better looking chart, but still it looks nothing like Cam Ward's chart. So we'll put Cam's chart up there a little bit while we talk. It should look really good, again, for a guy that ranks as well as he ranked. But this is not what the Titans are sizing up. I'm going to talk louder here. Tell me if the audio is bearable or not. Yeah, I have audio issues, Jim, and I'm aware of that. I'm basically using the computer microphone. I'll lean in here and I'll talk loud. Tell me if it's survivable. But the Titans aren't sizing up this chart. This chart is what he did last year in college. It is not what he's going to do next year in the pros, right? And what they need to size up is what they think he will be next year and the 3 years after that. And the 3 years after that are what matter. And so this is where I still am a little bit hesitant about him. What's not good about his projection? And how much does that limit what he can be? His processing and his accuracy are question marks. Lance Zierlein, good scouting analyst who writes for NFL media, says he operates with average decision-making and processing quickness. Now, that decision-making gets harder in the NFL, and that processing needs to get faster. Do they project those things to grow? Like a shortstop, Zerline says, he rips sidearm rockets that fit into tight windows on all three levels. But his delivery and mechanics cause inconsistencies with placement and accuracy. I'm particularly concerned with that, his delivery and mechanics. Most guys, when they come into the league, their mechanics are their mechanics. Their delivery is their delivery. It's hard to change the way a guy throws. He throws a lot of sidearm stuff, and that sidearm stuff is good when he's throwing it to adjust. Like, right, I can throw it here if that's the opening, and I can throw it here if that's the opening, and I can throw it here if that's the opening, and I can throw it here if that's the opening. I can throw from a variety of arm slots depending on where the opening is. That's great. But if you're throwing sidearm consistently, that's not desirable. That's not the ideal quarterback mechanics. Now, are there some quarterbacks that throw from a different slot than the regular slot and get away with it for their career and it's their MO? Sure. He's too willing to work out a structure and play hero ball. Do we want that? Do you want that? I mean, you'll accept that from a certain guy. Do you want that from the number one pick in the draft? He completed just 39 of his passes inside the red zone in 2024. Red zone, crucial. Pro Football Focus points out that he drifts. Guys that drift off that midline unnecessarily are problematic. You know, you can teach a guy that to not drift. He's nonchalant. He holds the ball too low. You can teach a guy not to do that. Ryan Fowler at the Draft Network. Tempoing his velocity of passes isn't good. Decision-making under pressure isn't good. Mechanics can get away at times. You can train a guy to be more consistent with his mechanics. The question is, are the mechanics good enough? Plays too much hero ball. And then the deep ball. 41.9%. 25 yards or deeper. The average among first rounders in the last 3 years has been 57.9%. It's almost 58%. That's a huge gap. You're talking about 42% versus 58%, 25 yards plus. Are we just focusing on negatives today, Sam asked? Well, yeah, I'm looking at the sorts of things that would stop you from taking it, because there's such a groundswell right now of the reasons to take it. So I'm kind of resetting on why you might not take him, Sam. And you could come back with the things that overwhelm you on why you would take him despite these things. Now, velocity makes, and I'll give you a couple of those things for sure. Velocity makes up for anticipation sometimes, and he's got some velocity. He can fire it. He creates plays when things break down and stays in the pocket, and we like that. That's the thing that make people compare him to McNair sometimes. Now, McNair would take off sometimes too, and much better at taking off than Cam Ward. But his ability to scramble around the pocket and do some things in the pocket, and then find something, echoes McNair a little bit. And that's where that comes from. And he's excellent over the middle. Completes something like 72% of his throws over the middle, which is a huge trait to have. So I'm just, and I knew Sam, and I knew it could be you, would counter with. I'm just resetting. These are the reasons you might not love the guy at number one. These are reasons you might not love the guy at number one, based on how much more close to perfect you would like a quarterback to be there. You weren't talking about these kind of things in the Manning picture, in the Luck picture, even in the Lawrence picture. Not too many, not as long a list in the Burrow picture. Now, a lot of you are calling for second chance Levis. I think if there's second chance Levis, it's because they're stopgapping it and stalling for a pick next year, not because there's some huge belief in Levis. I think if they play Levis in 2025, it's because they're just trying to get to 2026. And they're tanking, but they're stalling. And if they're stalling, Levis is probably their best option to stall. I'd rather see them get Flacco or Winston, or there's maybe one guy out there I'm forgetting, and that would be a better stall tactic for me with Levis or Allen behind that stall tactic approach. But I don't think it'd be because they say, oh, our line's better and Levis would be a substantially better player. I think they know what Levis is, and I think that they know that Levis is not good enough. And I agree with that. Levis is not good enough. He's not going to be good enough in 2025. Might he resurface and be a starting level quarterback at some point in his career elsewhere? Yeah, he might. He's not going to be it now. LD says, does stopgapping with Levis get Callahan fired? Maybe. Juan says, I'm cool with Callahan unless they make Denard head coach. Other than that, no. I mean, I don't know that Denard showed anything that makes him worthy of being head coach. And I think more likely, if you need an interim head coach this coming year, if you were to fire Callahan during the season, it might be Mike McCoy, who we just hired as a senior offensive assistant or whatever that is. So what? Jennifer says, draft a player who can contribute now. Well, that's kind of, I don't know if you're saying that's the basis for drafting Cam, or if you're saying draft Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter or somebody like that and wait. Levis can improve. Stop acting like it's impossible. Yeah, Levis can improve from terrible to less terrible. I don't think Levis can improve from terrible to average that you can win on a regular basis with. Sam says he's really pulling for Callahan. Hope he pulls it off. I'm really pulling for Callahan, and I hope he pulls it off as well. I think he's refreshingly transparent, and he's also a guy. He's just a good guy. And why you wouldn't root for a good guy is beyond me. Levis and Callahan, S. Rob says, are just not a good pairing. Callahan's offense doesn't play to the strengths of Levis. To be honest, it doesn't toward either. I don't know. I think the quarterback needs to play better to fit in anybody's system. Can't be foolishly turning the ball over. What has Callahan done? Well, I mean, he had a very bad first year as his head coach. But if you're going to claim that he did nothing before that, there are plenty of young offensive coaches who were assistants to very strong offensive coaches around the league who came in like Callahan did and certainly had better starts, but similar resumes and have done well, including his old boss, Zach Taylor, O'Connell, McDaniels, lots of them that come from Shanahan and McVay trees who turned into something. And there are plenty of coaches around the league who had 3 or 4 wins in their first year who eventually panned out if teams had patience with them. Jennifer's on fire today. Levis, less terrible is the ceiling. Most intelligent fans agree. I mean, I think average is the ceiling for Levis, but I think average as the ceiling for Levis is year 5 and somewhere else. Yeah, Callahan trotted out Rudolph with the same results. Here we go, Jay, with one of my favorite things. Rudolph throwing picks starts with Rudolph, not with Callahan. Rudolph making terrible decisions starts with Rudolph, not with Callahan. Rudolph fumbling starts with Rudolph. Same with Levis. You see Callahan's reaction with Levis against the Jets? Had that stupid ass fumble? Said, what the fuck are you doing? That was a coach reacting to a player doing something stupid. It wasn't in his script. This Callahan grace period is unwarranted, Jason. No time for anybody. Immediate firings for everybody. I mean, look at teams that churn coaches constantly. Browns have finally settled down. But how do they go for the Browns? Constantly churn coaches. Now, they hired terribly, but the Jets, the Raiders, think of that. Houston turned over coaches, 3 times in very short order. How did that go for them? Terrible. Pick Rudolph. I mean, all these things were collective. And Rudolph was certainly better than what they were doing at backup previously. But, it's a combination of Carthon and Callahan. Maybe Brinker. I mean, Mike Vrabel's burner said Callahan couldn't even scheme up targets for Ridley when the season was pointless, including with Mason. Well, when the season's pointless, and they did get him over 1,000 yards, when the season's pointless, that's a time to scheme up targets for Bryce Olive. I mean, you guys are obsessed with not playing some of the starters at the end of the season and losing games on purpose. And so I don't have a problem with them getting the ball to Ridley less when the season was pointless at the end. I think there were that was the least of the problem. I have a bigger problem with them not scheming up targets for NWI in the first 4 weeks when they're busy putting Burks on the field and watching him do nothing. NWI was absolutely wasted the first 4 weeks of the year. That was a much bigger thing. Sam says Shanahan himself took a couple of years to get things going in San Francisco. Josh says, if we're drafting Ward, we need to add wide receiver help. Do I think there's any help left in free agency, or will that need to come in the draft as well? I mean, I think Elijah Moore would be a guy worth having on your roster. I think Tyler Lockett, if his price comes down, would be worth having on your roster, though having him I think he'll find more attractive places to go. I mean, I think it's overplayed that people don't want to come to Tennessee, but this is peak time to not come to Tennessee. I read a good tweet about guys choosing where to go, like on their 1-year prove-it deal, and that it makes more sense on your 1-year prove-it deal if you can go to a team that's going to play some primetime games, that's going to not be in the noon window all the time. You get seen more. And if you're going to do something on your 1-year deal to get a better deal after this season's over, it's better to do it, on a team that's better, obviously, than it is to come help a team like Tennessee. They weren't naming the bad teams, but they were naming the good teams. And certainly that's a sales point that goes against Tennessee. And also you're coming to a team that's, you don't know who the quarterback is right now if you're a receiver. You don't know what the plan is. They might be telling you to a degree, but they don't want you to go and tell your agent and have your agent tell Schefter and Rappaport. And so it's hurting them if they're courting these guys. But I don't think it matters with Tyler Lockett until Tyler Lockett's market comes down to a realistic level. And that may not be until after the draft and people get things going. The Titans are definitely drafting a wide receiver. Are they drafting 2 wide receivers? I agree with this, Fatty Matty. The players make the coaches don't make the players. Rondale signed in Minnesota. We know that. Talking about Elijah. And look, Rondale is coming off a bad knee. So we don't know what the Titans' interest level was. The interest level was probably primarily started with checking out his knee. They check out his knee, and then they decide. But they've brought in all durable guys who've hardly missed games. Now, they may make an exception and say, well, we're going to pluck this one injured guy as a reclamation project, and that's fine. But, one, you can't just say Rondale Moore didn't take a shot. Titans didn't necessarily make an offer. And you don't know what they said compared to Minnesota. But that's crazy to say Rondale Moore didn't take a shot. We don't know if he got offered a contract. Is there inherent value to stacking your rookie quarterback with one of their college receivers like Burrow Chase? Not that Miami hasn't Chase, but you do like Arroyo and Restrepo. Restrepo is a slot only. I don't think you can bend over backwards to do this for a guy who's got positional limitation. And so Arroyo's interesting, but I wouldn't worry about Restrepo necessarily. I think it's a bonus if you can do it, but it's not hard to do it. What about fan service and merchandise sales, Greg? I am at Edley's Barbecue. I am just off 65 at Paytonsville Road, south of Nashville. Phenomenal place. I've been eating. They have it's the equivalent of nachos. They do it with chips, but I get it with French fries. Then they pile everything on there, and then you can get whatever kind of meat you want on there. I got chicken a couple weeks ago. Last week I got pork. Phenomenal. The barbecue ribs, fried ribs, unbelievable. There's nothing on the menu here that is not good. You can come here. If you're in Franklin, but you're over that way, you can go to the factory. You can go to 5 Points in East Nashville. That's the place where I visit my buddy Leon, bartender. And I head that way when I'm at the Titans facility on Thursday during the season. Sylvan Park, another great location. Donaldson, Gallatin, 12 South, another place I frequent. Nolan's, just location after location after location that is incredibly convenient. Best barbecue in town, hands down. Great service, really super efficient. Crowded, but the line to place your order when you come in. I've never waited more than one person in front of me. I don't know how they do it. Edley's Barbecue, best place in town. You will love it. There is old Mr. Edley. I don't know how many generations he goes back. You can see him over my shoulder there. My pen pointing to him. I always like to give a nod when I come in. Edley's Barbecue, best place you can eat in and around Nashville. You can smell it. You can smell it. Go there, eat here. Love them. Thanks. quintessential Titans. Jay makes a lot of comments that don't have any context to it. He thinks that I've memorized all of his comments. Juan says the best thing to do in the draft is pull the Texan moves. Go get a quarterback and then go up and get his receiver. But I'm just mad and dreaming. Got to give up a lot of draft capital to make that move, and I just don't think that they're going to be able to do that. There we go. Jay, give me some context. Drafting Cam Ward signals appeasing frustrated fans and not prioritizing building out the roster. I mean, I think there's a degree of that. I don't think you have to build out the roster before you take the quarterback. I don't think that's the rationale for not taking the quarterback. You don't say, well, the roster's not good enough to take the great quarterback. I think the reason not to take the quarterback is if you don't think the quarterback's great. If you don't think the quarterback's good enough for the number one pick, then you don't take the quarterback. If you think he's good enough, you take him. And you worry about the roster as you worry about the roster. Cincinnati didn't say, we can't take Joe Burrow because our roster's not good enough. Buffalo didn't say, we can't take Allen because our roster's not good enough. And those guys didn't come into great rosters by any means. But they built them up around them in a matter of a couple of years. And there they are among the best teams in the AFC. I mean, receiver and edge, you can't prescribe which one. Say they take Ward at 1. You can't say, well, if they take Ward at 1, then they must take an edge at 35. Or if they take Ward at 1, they must take a receiver at 35. You have to see who's there. And you have to have a feel for their judgment of what's available in the 4th at 3. And also you have to consider, and I like this idea a lot, and if you come to paulkuharsky.com where you need to be a member and you read James Foster's 7th-round Titans mock that we put up yesterday, it's a very smart-looking mock. He makes a trade down from 35. He makes a trade down from 35. He gets himself 2 picks, and then he makes 2 really smart selections. First one, I think, at 50. So, you know, I like the idea, and a lot of people seem to like the idea. If you don't trade down at 1, trade down at 35. Get yourself 2 picks there. And maybe you could address both. But they really, really are weak at both wide receiver and at edge. And it's a big problem. And look, you know, Draymond Jones and Van Jefferson do not solve these problems at the position. Give you a little bit at the back end. I think Jones, you know, you can rely on for a little more than Jefferson. Jefferson, a reclamation guy. Jennifer, are you a member of the site? I really would like for you to join. paulkuharsky.com, $7.50 a month. It's peanuts. There are a few drinks I could order here. 2 beers would cost me $7.50. A fancy cocktail would cost me $7.50. A fancy cup of coffee if you go to Starbucks would cost me $7.50. Come join. Content's far worth it. Not the fluff that's out there right now on Dan Moore, I can tell you that. I don't really know Taylor or Tyler Zarzer, who's Jim Nance's selection per Buck Rising report. I have an immense respect for Jim Nance, as everybody does. Become a little bit friendly with him. He came and met with my All-22, and we had a tremendous get-together. So I'm sure he's an excellent candidate. The other reported candidate from Jacksonville, and I think they're still stuck right now in terms of making things happen. JP Shadrick is the guy from Jacksonville. Very cool guy, knowledgeable guy, talented guy. So it's going to be one of those two guys that does the play-by-play. Now, what they do in terms of filling out the week, I think they certainly need somebody else in the room for their weekly stuff with Matt, with Amy Wells, with Rhett Bryan, with, I know Ramon Croft is in there some. I can't say I watch a lot of that stuff. It's way too happy for me. I know it serves its purpose. I know it's got an audience of Amy Adams Strunk who it needs to please. But the play-by-play is the most important to me. I listen to home games. I would listen to road games if I could. It's just on too much of a delay. I think it's super important. I'd be disappointed if that's just a contract worker, which it could be. Snead needs to be a star. L'Jarius Snead needs to be a star for them to have a chance on defense to get better. Mike Vrabel's burner's not paying much attention because he wants them to draft Hunter and trade either Snead or Awuzie during the offseason, but he missed the news that they cut Awuzie. So Mike Vrabel's burner scored down, not following the Titans very close. Ed Henry wants to know any indication I'm hearing regarding Amy's influence on the first pick. Guys do not talk about what Amy's doing and not doing because it doesn't do well for job preservation. Jay, I'm with you. He says Cam Ward is not Joe Burrow or Allen or even Daniels. Make me see the point. That's fine. If they're taking him, if they love him, they're taking him. You don't pass on a quarterback you love at number one when you need a quarterback. You don't say, oh, we love him, but we're not going to take him because we want to address wide receiver and edge and tight end and all these other things. If you love a quarterback at number one and you have number one, you take him. You don't worry about filling in the rest of your roster. You worry about that stuff later. If you don't like him, then you worry about filling in the rest of your roster. Yeah. See how this doesn't work, Two-Tone? Best comment of the day right there, Paul. I have no idea which comment that was, but thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Sam says, if they take Ward, do I think they have urgency to move out of 35? I would. But, if there's somebody they love at 35, it's always this pull and tug, right? You have somebody you love at 35, but you really want to turn 35 into two picks. What do you do? Juan, I don't think that you're I think they think that Michael Williams isn't too far off of Abdul Carter also. And I think Abdul Carter's got some issues. I mean, he's got some temperament issues. Not a bad thing for a defensive end. I think he's a super alpha. I think they need a super alpha, by the way. But you can be too alpha. So I think there's a question, is he maybe too much of an alpha? I think that foot's a concern. And, he's not the biggest guy in the league. So, I don't know. The Titans have to leave their draft with the quarterback. I think the rest of the quarterbacks suck. I think they think Cord has some promise, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense to take a quarterback in the second, fourth round. Use yet another pick after you used one on Levis and traded up, after you used one on Willis and traded up. And then this guy's going to be your backup at best when you have backup options. Like if you don't take Ward, you have backup options in 2026 like Levis or like Allen or like, all of these guys are shuffling around on one-year contracts. So I wouldn't. Because they have all these other needs, Would you rather have one of these quarterbacks in the second round who's not going to be your starter? odds are not going to pan out. Fourth-round quarterbacks don't pan out. Or would you rather have the guard to develop behind Zeitler, or a receiver who might add to your core, or a tight end who's got a chance to get to number one on your depth chart? Yeah, I think most people were enamored with Cam during interviews. Being enamored with the guy during injuries doesn't mean you're taking him. Jordan Pace, is there a congratulatory nature towards other local reports when they get a scoop, or is it more competitive? I mean, I'm not happy when somebody else gets a scoop, and I don't. We're not seeing the guys outside of the season, but generally say, good job on that. When you see a guy. Yeah, somebody's asking about Burrow. Burrow is not going to be available in a trade now that they signed Chase and Higgins. There's no evidence, Barton, that James Williams has what it takes to start inside, but only a year in. I don't trust any of those other inside linebackers. They don't have enough in evidence. Cedric Gray, Otis Reese, James Williams. But you'd like for one of them to step up. A lot of upside on Cam Ward. A lot of upside. Is it enough to overcome the downside and make you love the guy for the number one pick? What's the PK health heart secret to surviving weekly barbecue podcast? I don't have one. I haven't been to the doctor in a while. I need to get back to the gym, back working out, need to eat better, all of those things. Yeah, Josh Robbins says there were a lot of questions about Josh Allen when he came out. He had accuracy issues when he came out. He's one rare guy that corrected accuracy issues. It's very rare for a quarterback to do better, get more accurate as he comes into the league. If you're listening on Apple, on Spotify, on iHeart, if you're watching on YouTube or on X, please retweet, offer a thumbs up, subscribe on your YouTube, like, rate, review, become a member of PaulKuharsky.com. All of that stuff helps me greatly, and I much appreciate it. Thank you for your support. I'm sorry the sound is not great today. Got a little bit of a technical issue. Will be corrected next time. All my stuff's plugged in and the thing just isn't working. Sounds like Abdul Carter is Vrabel's dream. 2 Alpha. Laugh out loud. Yes. Sam, I think you're right. I mean, I think he's winding up with Carter or Hunter, though what he needs probably more than everything is offensive line. Jason Hoteling there to help advise him on offensive line, and we know they can't go wrong. It's such a Titans thing to land the overall number one pick in a lackluster top-end draft. It really is. I mean, it really is. If they were to sign Winston over the next couple of weeks and move Levis, would that cast doubt about picking Ward? It would for me, but look, nothing's going to telecast what they're doing, I don't think. And I don't think they're going to let it out. I think they want to be a good partner to the NFL in helping them have a good TV show. Inside linebacker, Barton brings up, is a real concern of yours. They are not going to spend big dollars or big draft capital inside linebackers. And this is something that really has been a Titans thing, regime to regime to regime. Randall Godfrey was the one big, expensive middle or inside linebacker, right? And he ended up getting screwed out of money in the long run. Floyd Reese said he wasn't going to cut him, and then he cut him. He's probably the best inside linebacker they ever had also. I mean, Keith was an outside linebacker in a 4-3. The green dot thing, Juan, is highly overrated. All you're doing is relaying yourself. Cedric Gray is another Monty Rice. I think it's a little early for that. I don't think they'd want. They don't want. Josh is asking, if not Ward and trade back, what do you think the trade back spot window would be, and who would be in that range? They don't want to go outside of 10. I think Michael Williams would probably be my thought for the number one guy that they would, quote unquote, settle for in that scenario. Dixie, I'd like to ask the chat, why in the hell would the Titans sign Brandon Allen? Well, they got turned down by the great Mason Rudolph, and he was the alternative to the great Mason Rudolph. It's not a great signing by any means. David Thornton, another good inside linebacker. I left him out. He's the only outside linebacker. I mean, inside linebacker. He paid money to besides Godfrey. Probably. Rudolph liked Pittsburgh better. That would be my answer to why Rudolph didn't return. Big Bad John says, there's no way the Titans are selling this fan base with Brandon Allen and Will Levis as quarterback one. We're definitely getting a quarterback with the number one pick. That may be. But where are you convinced the Titans are hell-bent on selling this fan base? Maybe they're selling this fan base on patience. Jayon Brown was pretty solid. Jayon Brown was nowhere close. This is Titans. The Titans hypnotizing you. He's a good player. If you think he was Randall Godfrey or David Thornton, that's just what the Titans do. They convince you that a guy comes in, plays pretty solid football for you, is like equal to, the two best guys in franchise history. Which they're not. "30 visits, Jack Shepard are kept very quiet. He wants to know if the Titans met with any potential second-round wide receivers. I haven't seen anything either. A couple other notes I wanted to hit here. Zen Sports, we've got to talk about. Go to Zen Sports, sign up with TN Paul as your code. Zen Sports, I've been telling you, I sat with a guy here a couple of weeks ago and told me how much he likes Zen Sports because he likes to bet big. And all these other sites don't let you bet big. So he goes to Zen Sports. He can bet pretty much, high limits. It's a high limit sports bet site. And so he's got a game. He knows what's going to happen. He's a confident bettor. And says he does pretty well. He might be a confident bettor who does pretty well. Well, if you feel limited by what you can do on the big sports websites, or if you're going to multiple websites, put a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, a couple $100 there. Go to Zen Sports and you can bet all of that in one place. Be a line mover at Zen Sports. Pretty powerful stuff, if you ask me. Also, if you're a big bettor at Zen Sports, they're going to treat you right. This guy, he's a fan of Sacramento Kings. I mean. Zen Sports, he's got a concierge guy. Ask the guy, hey, can you get me really good tickets to the Kings game in Memphis? I want to go see the Kings play Grizz. Boom. Premium seats. Drove over to Memphis, saw his Kings. I'm sure he made a bet on it, whatever. Treat him like a king. Zen Sports, the place to go if you want to make big wagers. One place, get well taken care of. Go there, sign up with TN Paul. Takes care of me, tells them I sent you. High limits. Gotta like it. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 and over and in Tennessee to bet. NFL rule changes. Yes to the overtime change from me. Both teams possess the ball, so a touchdown on the first possession can't win the game. That's stupid. 15 minutes. Make the regular season like the postseason. There's no reason for the rules to be different. They cut it down to 10 minutes. They're worried about two teams getting tired, playing an extra quarter of football and giving them a competitive disadvantage going into the next week, playing a team that didn't play an extra quarter. Look, it's the way it goes to try to get a result. I'm not anti-tie. I'm probably more comfortable with ties than anybody in this room. But it doesn't make sense for the rules to be different in the postseason and in the regular season. This thing should be approved. I don't know that it will be, but it definitely should be. No to banning the tush push. Look, the Eagles are really good at this. The Bills are pretty good at it. They've figured out an advantage. You go get good at it or figure out a way to stop it. But you can't ban it because one team has figured out something and gotten good at it. And look, it's a big part of Eagles' success. They're a 4-down team in a lot of ways. You're not. Well, you've got to figure out a way to solve it without banning it. It just looks unseemly for you to ban it because they're good at it and you're not. Yes, to moving the kickoff touchback to the 35. It'll prompt more teams to try to return kickoffs. Touchbacks are boring as shit. And starting at the 35, hey, Titans could use 5 yards more. Titans signed Dan Moore 4 years, $82 million. You can get out of it after 2 and leave like $12 million dead. Cam Robinson, 1 year, between $12 and $14.5 million in Houston to replace Laramie Tunsil. Curious what you think there. Cam Robinson's not a terrific player. Dan Moore should be better. But it's interesting the different approaches the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans are taking at the position. Bengals, big re-signing decisions. Titans have nothing even remotely comparable to consider as things go forward with them. Wrote about that at paulkuharsky.com. Something you should want to read. Reporting trends. So now, in what the agents give the national reporters to cut and paste, so-and-so signed a 4-year, $20 million deal. It was negotiated by Agent X from Agency X. Who were the sources for this report? They never say that. It's so amazing to me how far we've fallen from what we used to aspire to do. We used to get something off the record, but you really wanted to get it on the record. The goal was to get it on the record. If only I could get this on the record, that would be a real win. Getting it off the record is somewhat of a loss. Now, you prefer to get it off the record. It looks more mysterious. Ooh, these guys are telling me behind the scenes. Behind the scenes is better than up front. Now, they get it off the record. They get it unnamed. But in the report, they're naming the person who gave it to them and pretending like they did it. I've learned this guy signed for these numbers. I'm not going to tell you where I got it, but I'm going to name the people who gave it to me in giving them credit for negotiating the deal. It is such high-level bullshit. It is so transparent. If you care about how the sausage is made at all, and I know this room is filled with people who are smart enough to care about how the sausage is made and how these things happen. Just know these national reporters, all they're doing is getting their back scratched and scratching back. Is there some digging on some of this stuff? Yes, but in the transaction market, so much cutting and pasting and doing what they're told by the people who are giving them the information in order to make sure they get the next piece of information. And then they make it like, when Woj retires, like, oh, so few people could understand the lifestyles that we go through. You chose it. You get big money for it. The ethics of it is so questionable, dirty, filthy. You missed a news story once because you're in the shower. Well, good for you. You need that shower, pal. Good stuff. Giants could possibly trade for Levis if they don't get Rodgers or Wilson. Think? Giants are drafting Shador if they don't get Keenan. Pulling a ball carrier is prohibited. Adding pushing to this wouldn't be far-fetched. Why? Because the Eagles are good at it. I have thought about teaching. I haven't gotten hired. What if quarterback goes number 1 and number 2? So I guess you're asking that about the Giants? I don't think quarterbacks are going number 1 and number 2. But maybe. So then I think the Giants probably be drafting the second round quarterback. Somebody's asking me about Jackson Dart. They're going in the first round, going number 9. It's always possible. Teams get desperate and they do desperate things. I don't think Jackson Dart's a first round quarterback at all. At all. Easton Freeze taking a shot at Jim Wyatt. Nobody will name him. I'll name him. It's not Jim Wyatt's fault that the Titans gave him access to Dan Moore. It's the Titans' fault. But it's ridiculous that, and talking about the sausage getting made. I mean, you guys really don't care about this one, but it's my podcast. For the Titans to not have introductory press conferences for these guys and then have their own guy interview Dan Moore and put out a fluff piece is just insulting to everyone. Insulting to everyone. It's insulting to you even if you don't know it. We're wrapping up here. I'll take a couple more and we'll call it a day. Please subscribe to the site, paulkuharsky.com. $7.50 a month. It's nothing. Support independent journalism so that there could be something other than that fluff about Dan Moore, who's not asked about giving up 12 sacks. Ensure that somebody asks him about giving up 12 sacks. Please. Come to Edleys, eat terrific barbecue. Go to Zen Sports, bet as much as you want. Use code TNPaul. Let's see what else you got here. I do like Jack Besh a lot. I've seen him really ranging from like high second to low third. And I've got to think he's going to I think he's going in second. But I don't know if he's worth 35. So I'm stuck on him. But I would love to cover him. I would love to watch him play on a weekly basis. I think he's going to catch everything that's thrown to him, and I think he's going to find ways to be open on a regular basis. And I took care to ask him how his name's pronounced at the combine, because I was hoping to be pronouncing it a lot. Besh, like it's S-H. I don't think the Titans' Big Bad John will sign Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's career is on a downswing. And he's missed games the last 2 years, and they're on the durability train. Amazing Cajun wants a real running back one. I don't know what you didn't see in Tony Pollard. Looked pretty good to me, Tony Pollard. I'll take him as running back one in 2025. That's the least of the Titans' worries. First position they don't need to worry about is running back, though they'll probably draft or hopefully go undrafted free agent to get a big back to supplement their two smaller backs between the tackles, like 3rd and 1 kind of guy. And I think they'll take a cornerback late, but I think their first 4 cornerbacks are pretty good. Fourth round running back is fine, but they've got things they need more than a 4th down running back. Can't be insulted if you don't care. Should care. I wish people would understand better, tall Texans, what they should care about and how it's affecting them. We'll close with that. Jack says, if the Titans waste an early pick on running back 1, I will be pissed. Way too many holes. They're not going to do that. I trust them not to do that. I mean, they can't afford to make picks that are redundant to their roster, and a running back one would be redundant to the best player on their offense in Tony Pollard. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks. Thank you very much for coming. I will see you soon.